Bonjour! Today we're talking about infinitives. So what is an infinitive? You might have heard of this word before, or you might actually know what an infinitive is, but have been told a different word for it. So sometimes students are taught that this is the dictionary form, because this is where we find it. If we look up a verb in the dictionary, it is in its basic form called the infinitive. So the basic form means before it's been changed to who you're talking about or when you're talking about. So we have this in English as well, don't we? So when we change a verb for who we're talking about, I eat or he eats, and in the past it would be I ate. So we change our verbs in the same way. So there are three major groups of regular verbs. By regular verbs, we mean ones that follow the same pattern. So if you know a regular verb that ends in ER, you will then know how it changes each time to do with who you're talking about or what tense you're talking in. So the three major verbs are ending in ER, ending in IR, and ending in RE. And the biggest group is those that end in ER. So it can be translated as to and then a verb. So here the example is j'aime jouer au foot. I like to play football. It can also be translated as a verb with ing at the end, depending on your sentence. So j'aime manger could be translated as I like to eat or I like eating. So sometimes you can translate both ways. Sometimes one will work and not the other, and that's going to depend on your sentence. So when do you use it? So often you'll see them used as a second verb in a clause. So the example here is je veux manger une pizza. I want to eat a pizza. Okay, so here ing wouldn't work, would it? I want eating a pizza. That doesn't make sense. Tu peux ouvrir la porte? Can you open the door? So here we haven't got to, so you can see that it can be translated just as the verb on its own. And then ils aiment lire, they like to read. So again, we've got a to and then the verb. Lots of verbs are followed by the infinitive, no matter what tense you're using. So we've done the opinions already. So j'aime aller à la plage, I like to go to the beach, or I like going to the beach. But here we've got il préférerait, so this is a conditional tense. He would prefer étudier en France, to study or studying in France. Infinitives can also sometimes be used at the beginning of a sentence, so where we would use an ing in English. So parler français est très utile. Speaking French is very useful. So when I translate things, I sort of say them to myself in my head, see what version works. So make sure you know the irregular infinitives as well. So those ones that don't follow the pattern when we conjugate them. But we also need to know them in the infinitive if we want to use them as a second verb in a clause. So avoir, être, and faire are the main irregular verbs. And you also need to know them so that you can conjugate some of the verb tenses. So, for example, the conditional tense, we're going to add on our conditional ending to the infinitive in our regular verbs. So practice using two verbs in a sentence. A good way to start is with opinions. So for example, j'aime regarder la télé. How many things can you think of that you like or you don't like or you hate? And then perhaps change it to what I call a V verb. So something like je vais, I'm going, or je veux, I want. And then you could actually be talking in the future tense at the same time. So je vais regarder la télé, I'm going to watch the TV. Okay, that's all for today. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. À bientôt.